Books a mirror reflecting your life, reading Jane Austen's Mansfield Park. Do you think of the word books and immediately picture thick, difficult letters? Or perhaps you feel that books are somehow boring and irrelevant to your life. When we live busy daily lives, we often think we don't have time to read books. But books are not merely tools to accumulate knowledge or cultural refinement. They serve as mirrors reflecting small parts of our lives, and sometimes they become windows revealing the world we haven't yet considered. Today, I want to introduce a work that particularly contains deep insights into people and life. This is precisely Jane Austen's Mansfield Park. Although you might associate Jane Austen with old-fashioned romance novels, that's not entirely true. Her novels transcend time and space, resonating surprisingly with our contemporary anxieties and emotions. Especially, Mansfield Park is a work that boldly questions what true value and moral courage are, going beyond a simple love story. Through this essay, I'd like to explore why we should listen to this old novel and what meaningful messages Mansfield Park might bring to your life. 1. The World of Mansfield Park. The story of an ordinary girl, Fanny Price. The story of Mansfield Park unfolds in the early 19th century in the English countryside, centered around an ancient mansion called Mansfield Park. The protagonist is a young girl named Fanny Price. Fanny is the daughter of a poor family and, in her early years, is entrusted to the care of her wealthy uncle, Sir Thomas Bertram, the owner of Mansfield Park. Fanny grows up alongside Sir Thomas's children, Maria, Julia, Tom, and Edmund, but she is not truly part of their family. She was always a guest in their home, and their kindness often came mixed with indifference and contempt. The people of Mansfield Park treated Fanny generally with coldness or indifference. Her aunt was lazy and indolent, and her Aunt Norris, Lady Catherine, often ridiculed and discriminated against Fanny. Her cousins treated her as an outcast or a servant. Only her cousin Edmund genuinely understood and cared for Fanny, guiding her in reading and offering her comfort. In such an environment, Fanny grew up timid and quiet. She tried to remain unnoticed and avoided voicing strong opinions. However, unlike her outwardly fragile appearance, Fanny had an inner moral compass that was as firm and upright as anyone's. She remained undisturbed by the dazzling temptations around her and silently walked the path she believed was right. The arrival of the charming and attractive Crawfords, Henry and Mary, stirs up intense turmoil in Fanny's life and the lives of those around her. With their cleverness, charm, and refined manners, the Crawfords captivate the young people of Mansfield Park. Henry, a notorious womanizer, and Mary, an intellectually bright but worldly wise woman, disrupt the quiet life at Mansfield Park. Their presence acts as a catalyst, exposing the hidden desires and values of the characters. Maria and Julia fall under Henry's spell, and even Edmund becomes enamored with Mary's wit and beauty, ignoring her materialistic worldview. Yet only Fanny discerns the emptiness and moral deficiencies behind the Crawfords' charm. 2. Glittering temptations and unshakable principles. Questions raised by the characters. Mansfield Park is not merely a story of Fanny's growth. This novel poses important questions. What is truly valuable? What criteria should we use to judge people and the world? Jane Austen offers sharp insights into human nature, easily seduced by the dazzling and attractive, with her delicate yet incisive pen. A. The hollowness behind the glamour. The Crawfords. The Crawfords are socially successful and charming individuals. Henry Crawford, with his handsome appearance and pleasant personality, easily wins women's hearts, while Mary Crawford, with her intellectual and humorous conversations, brings joy to those around her. If they lived today, they might be comparable to social media influencers or popular celebrities. They attract everyone's attention, creating an illusion that associating with them makes one special. However, their charm is only skin deep. Henry enjoys manipulating people's feelings without genuine emotion, while Mary prioritizes social success and a comfortable life over moral values. To them, love is a game and marriage is merely a means to social status. They lack empathy for others' pain and easily sacrifice principles for personal gain. Their characters ask us, is what seems glamorous and attractive always good and right? Are we losing real values by being deceived by appearances? B. Shaken morals and late realizations. The Bertram family. The Bertram family is also swept away by the Crawfords' charm and makes grave mistakes in judgment. Maria and Julia fall for Henry's temptation and ultimately face disastrous consequences. Mr. Bertram initially fails to understand Fanny and even forces her to marry Henry Crawford. Even Edmund, Fanny's only true supporter, is blinded by Mary's charm and overlooks her materialistic worldview for a long time. Their experiences show how easily we can be tempted by others' appearances and social status. Though they grew up in a good environment, due to the lack of proper moral education and genuine love, they lost their way. However, the novel also suggests the possibility of reflection and growth through their failures. Mr. Bertram eventually realizes the errors in his parenting and judgment, acknowledging Fanny's true value. Edmund also comes to understand Mary's true nature and finally recognizes Fanny's sincere heart. This offers hope that humans can learn and grow through mistakes. C. Quiet but resolute strength. Fanny Price. Fanny appears to be the most marginalized and vulnerable character in the novel. She lacks charm, talent, and wealth. Yet, she possesses an inner strength that surpasses everyone else. Despite persistent pressure from Henry Crawford and the influence of those around her, Fanny firmly upholds her beliefs. Her refusal is not simply out of distaste, but a strong moral courage, rejecting loveless marriage and a life without principles. Fanny's journey makes us reflect on what true strength really is: resilience rooted not in social status, appearance, or wealth, but in the persistence to uphold one's conscience and principles. She quietly observes, deeply thinks, and empathizes with others' pain. Her patience and moral courage ultimately lead her to become the true mistress of Mansfield Park. Fanny reminds us what matters most is not external information but belief in oneself and an upright heart. 3. The implications of Mansfield Park for today's world. Now, let's discuss the message this old novel sends to those living in the 21st century. While the historical context differs, through this work, we can understand that human nature and the essence of society have not changed much. Cultivate an eye that is not deceived by appearances. We live in an era where what is displayed outwardly is valued highly. On social media, dazzling lives and perfect appearances are constantly presented, and people tend to judge each other based on looks, credentials, or wealth. The residents of Mansfield Park, who fell for the Crawfords' charm, reflect our modern society, easily swayed by external success or glamorous packaging. However, Mansfield Park constantly reminds us that true value lies within. When meeting people, it is crucial to look beyond how well they speak, what they wear, or how wealthy they are, and instead ask what values they hold, how they treat others, and what kind of heart they have. This novel helps us develop the insight to see through appearances to the essence behind them. B. It's okay to be stubborn. Have courage to uphold your principles. Fanny Price was criticized for being stubborn. Her refusal to marry a man without love was difficult to understand against the social norms and family pressures of her time. Yet Fanny never compromised her conscience and principles. And ultimately, those principles protected and led her to happiness. In our society, we often feel tempted to conform to the majority or trends and compromise our convictions. We may fear being labeled as stubborn or naive. However, Mansfield Park tells us that if you have a firm set of values and principles, they can make you the strongest. The courage to remain unmoved by others' criticism or temptation and to follow your moral compass is truly the wisdom of life. C. Explore the truth of relationships that is not immediately visible. The Bertram family in Mansfield Park appears wealthy and dignified, but their internal relationships are hollow and fragile. Parents provided only material wealth without teaching their children genuine love and values, and the children pursued selfish desires, leading to failure. In contrast, the relationship between Fanny and Edmund, which began as friends, a mentor, and an ally, deepened into sincere love through mutual understanding and respect. This teaches us the importance of true understanding, respect, and patience in relationships with family, friends, and partners. Real relationships are built over time and become stronger when people support and trust each other through difficult moments. Reading books can enrich your life. Perhaps reading Mansfield Park is similar to being thrown into a strange world like Fanny's. It may initially feel difficult and unfamiliar. But as you turn each page, you encounter new characters, glimpse their lives, and share in their joys and troubles. In this process, you reflect on yourself and gain a new perspective on the world. Books are not just tools to convey information. They allow us to experience lives we haven't lived, understand complex human nature, and contemplate the difference between right and wrong. Through reading, we strengthen our inner selves and become wiser people who are not easily swayed by appearances. Mansfield Park can be a great starting point for this journey. Conclusion: awaken the Fanny Price within you. Jane Austen's Mansfield Park is more than a classic novel. It is a living story with messages still relevant in our time. The courage to remain unswayed by appearances, the strength to uphold your principles, and the journey to discover true value, these are not merely Fanny Price's story. They are our stories and the questions we must continually ask ourselves to lead better lives. If you have yet to experience the joy of reading or find knowledge and cultural refinement too distant and difficult, I encourage you to open Mansfield Park. This book does not force difficult lessons upon you. Instead, it invites you into the small world of Mansfield Park and, through the intriguing events and lives of its characters, helps you come to your own realizations. You might discover within yourself a quiet yet strong inner strength like Fanny Price. Books are the most powerful tools to awaken the hidden wisdom and courage within you. I sincerely hope this essay becomes a small step for you to begin this grand journey of reading.